The kingdom of Israel stood at a crossroads, fractured and vulnerable after the tragic fall of its first king, Saul. A void of leadership threatened to unravel the fragile unity of the 12 tribes. It was a time of uncertainty and profound national grief. From the humble fields of Bethlehem, a shepherd boy named David had been chosen by divine decree. Anointed by the prophet Samuel, he was destined to lead a nation. His journey from obscurity to the throne is one of history's most compelling narratives. The book of 2 Samuel chronicles the tumultuous reign of this extraordinary figure. It is a story of unparalleled triumph and devastating failure, revealing the complex nature of power and faith. We witness David's ascent to glory and his subsequent descent into personal and national turmoil. Our focus will be on David's heart, a man described as being after God's own heart. He was powerful, anointed, and deeply spiritual, yet profoundly human. His life offers timeless lessons on leadership, devotion, and the enduring consequences of our choices. The news of Saul and Jonathan's deaths plunged David into profound sorrow. He tore his clothes in anguish, weeping bitterly for the fallen king and his beloved friend. This was not a moment of political opportunism, but genuine grief. His lament, "How the mighty have fallen," echoed through the land, a poignant tribute to those lost. David demonstrated a remarkable capacity for forgiveness and mercy, choosing compassion over vengeance, even towards those who had sought his life. Following this period of mourning, David was anointed king by the tribes of Israel. He was 30 years old when he began his reign, a pivotal moment for a nation yearning for stability. His leadership quickly brought a sense of purpose and direction. He established Jerusalem as his capital, transforming it into the City of David. This strategic move unified the northern and southern tribes, creating a central hub for both political and religious life. It became a symbol of national identity. God's blessing was evident throughout David's early reign, leading to numerous victories against Israel's enemies. The kingdom flourished under his guidance, achieving a level of unity and strength previously unknown. David was a king favored by heaven. A cornerstone of David's legacy was God's promise of an eternal dynasty. Through the prophet Nathan, God declared that David's house and kingdom would endure forever. This covenant established a lineage that would culminate in the Messiah. This divine promise finds its ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, the true King. He is the descendant of David, whose kingdom is eternal and whose reign knows no end. David's story thus points beyond itself to a greater, everlasting hope. David harbored a deep desire to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. He understood its significance as the dwelling place of God's presence among his people. This was not merely a political act, but a spiritual imperative. An initial attempt to transport the Ark ended in tragedy due to a failure to follow divine instructions. Learning from this painful lesson, David ensured the Ark was brought to Jerusalem with proper reverence and immense joy. It was a moment of national celebration. As the Ark entered the city, David danced before the Lord with all his might. His worship was uninhibited and passionate, a pure expression of devotion. He shed the pretense of royal dignity, embracing humility before his God. His wife, Michal, scorned his unreserved display, mocking his behavior. Yet, David prioritized honoring God above human pride or social expectations. His heart was fixed on the Lord, unconcerned with the opinions of others. Despite his profound devotion, David was not immune to human frailty. One evening, from his rooftop, he saw Bathsheba bathing. This moment of lust initiated a chain of events that would forever stain his reign. His desire led to adultery with Bathsheba, a grave betrayal of his moral and spiritual responsibilities. To conceal his sin, David orchestrated the death of Uriah, Bathsheba's honorable husband, sending him to the front lines of battle. David's heart, once so pure in its pursuit of God, became entangled in a web of lust, deception, and murder. The consequences of these actions would reverberate throughout his family, and kingdom for years to come. God, however, would not allow David's sin to remain hidden. The prophet Nathan confronted the king with a powerful parable about a rich man and a poor man's lamb. David, initially enraged by the injustice, soon realized the parable spoke of his own actions. Convicted by Nathan's words, David immediately repented, acknowledging his profound wrongdoing. His sorrow and contrition are famously expressed in Psalm 51, a timeless prayer of confession and plea for mercy. God, in His boundless grace, forgave David. Yet the divine decree made it clear that consequences for his actions would remain. Forgiveness does not always erase the pain and suffering caused by sin, a harsh but necessary truth. Nathan's prophecy foretold that the sword would never depart from David's house. This grim prediction began to unfold with devastating accuracy, as trouble arose within David's own family. His personal sins had sown seeds of discord. His son Amnon committed a heinous act against his half-sister Tamar. In retaliation, Absalom, Tamar's full brother, murdered Amnon. This cycle of violence and betrayal tore at the fabric of David's household. Absalom, charismatic and ambitious, then orchestrated a rebellion, turning the hearts of the people against his father. He capitalized on public discontent and David's perceived weaknesses, seizing control of Jerusalem. David was forced to flee his capital, a humiliating and heartbreaking exile. This flight from Jerusalem was a direct fulfillment of Nathan's prophecy, a bitter taste of the consequences of his earlier transgressions. The rebellion culminated in a brutal battle in the forest of Ephraim. Absalom, riding through the woods, became entangled by his long hair in the branches of a great oak tree, leaving him suspended between heaven and earth. Despite David's explicit command to spare his son, Absalom was killed by Joab, David's commander. The news of Absalom's death shattered David's heart, revealing the depth of his paternal love. His anguished cry, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom! If only I had died instead of you! Oh, Absalom, my son, became a timeless expression of a father's grief. It highlighted the profound brokenness within his family. Eventually, David returned to Jerusalem, a king humbled and aged by his trials. He was older, perhaps wiser, and certainly more aware of his own limitations and the fragility of power. His reign had been irrevocably altered. In his later years, David committed another sin, ordering a census of Israel and Judah. This act, driven by pride and a reliance on human strength rather than divine provision, displeased the Lord. It was a lapse in faith. When confronted, David pleaded for mercy for his people, accepting the consequences of his actions. He offered a costly sacrifice, demonstrating his renewed commitment to God and his willingness to pay the price for his transgressions. David's legacy is not defined by his failures alone, but by his passionate pursuit of God. He was a man who loved the Lord deeply, even when he stumbled. His life is a testament to God's enduring grace through human imperfection. David's life offers a profound and often uncomfortable truth: even those closest to God, those most anointed and favored, can fall. His story shatters any illusion of human perfection, even among the greatest spiritual leaders. What truly defines us, however, is not the act of falling, but our response to it. David's immediate and heartfelt repentance, rather than justification or blame, stands as a powerful example for all believers. God desires a heart of repentance, humility, and obedience far more than He desires flawless performance. He knows our weaknesses and seeks a spirit that returns to Him, even after profound error. No failure is final when one genuinely returns to God. David's story assures us that divine mercy is always available, a boundless ocean of grace ready to cleanse and restore those who seek it. While God's forgiveness is absolute, sin inevitably carries pain and consequences, both for the individual and for those around them. David's life is a stark reminder of this difficult truth. Yet, through all the turmoil, God's covenant and faithfulness to David endured. His promises remained steadfast, pointing to a greater king. David's story ultimately directs our gaze to Jesus. Jesus, the true king, is the perfect son of David, who never failed. He lived a life of complete obedience, fulfilling every promise and establishing an eternal kingdom. He is the ultimate hope. Despite a broken past, despite our own failures and imperfections, God can still write His story through us. David's life is a powerful testament to redemption, demonstrating that God uses imperfect people for His perfect purposes.